Yirtzeh Hashem, so we will resume the Tzidkas HaTzadik Shir this morning at 9:15. I want to talk about the touchy subject of chickens. And I'm not here to recommend this kashrus, that kashrus. I just want to explain a little bit al pi halacha. So, and I'm focusing here on Eretz Yisrael, and this will. I want to really go over 10 points. Not 1 point. There's 10 points. In the chickens here in Eretz Yisrael, you'll notice that there are different markings. And talking about kosher chickens, there are different markings. Some of them are kosher, it says kosher. Some of them say kosher mehadrin. Some of them say halak. Some of them say, well, that's not that it says, but it's under badatz halak. Badatz doesn't mean hechsherim. Badatz means any one of the many badatz in almost every city in Israel has a beis din, and that beis din is a hechsher. So that's kind of opposed to the rabbanut. The rabbanut has rabbanut hechsher, and then within them there could be a badatz that gives a hechsher. So what are some of the differences between those is what we educated consumers need to know. First of all, let me say that most of these terms make no sense at all. I mean, they're borrowed terms. For instance, mehadrin, it says by Hanukkah candles, and it says by esrog. I don't think anywhere else, anyplace else it says mehadrin. It certainly doesn't say by chickens, mehadrin, but it's a borrowed term. Halak, which in English we call glat, so also borrowed term because there's no such thing as a glat kosher chicken. It doesn't exist. A glat means that you take out the lung and you check it and make sure it doesn't have any sirch on the reya. None of that is done with the chicken anyway. But these are borrowed terms which help us understand that it's a higher level. Why they use these terms, glat kosher chickens, mehadrin, okay, just words. But the words here are important in terms of what they do. And generally speaking, they're all. I'm assuming they're all shechted kosher by Yer Shemaim. It's hard to be a shochet in this country if you're like some kind of a shagitz or something. A shochet, you have to go through testing and learning. But the problem is the level of the supervision. That's what I want to speak about. I just want to speak about, let's say, 1 point now. The level of supervision, meaning what is the beis din or what is the rabbanut supervising? Just an interesting fact that rabbanut kosher chickens used to be very, very prominent and inexpensive in the market. I don't think you'll find any. If you look in the supermarket, I don't think you'll find any chickens that are rabbanut kosher. Everyone says rabbanut kosher mehadrin that I see. Maybe you go down to the Negev or something, I don't know. But if you go here into the supermarkets that you go to, everything is rabbanut mehadrin, which kind of like makes you wonder more, what is it? So here's one, I'm going to make 1 point. The point is zrikot, giving the chickens. That's like the very first thing to notice in the difference. There's two kinds of shots. They give a chicken. Just the idea is a chicken, unlike a child that gets like a vaccination every year or something, a whole chicken gets shechted when it's 40 days old. It doesn't get too many, doesn't go in annually for its shots. It's a one-shot deal. and that takes place in most cases. I mean, this is what I'm taught by Shlachtois, that takes place in 11 days from the time that the chicken is born. Sometimes they can give a vaccination in the eggs. More in America, it's like a very, apparently a very complex way of doing it. And sometimes you can give a vaccination orally, but here in this country, they give a shot to the chicken, usually when it's 11 days old. There's a reason why veterinarians want it to be 11 days old. It's smaller, that you use less dosage, etc. There's all kind of not a, even though we all went through COVID together, I don't know that much about vaccinations, but I do know that they do this at 11 days old. And this is not done by a shlachtois, it's not done by a rabbi, it's done by veterinarians that come, and that's the law unless you find something which is really organic without any vaccinations. This is done by the government of Israel. They come and they vaccinate all the chickens to make sure that we don't get sick. That's what the vaccination. Another shot that some places do, it's not mandatory, but it's wise for them, I guess, to do, is they give a shot of hormones. And the purpose of the hormones is to make the chicken get big, and fatten it up for the kill. Again, I'm not discussing health over here. I don't know what you have to do with your own. This is a Matthias. Matthias is that in most places they give 2 shots, one at 11 days old and one a little bit older. These shots, these injections that they give the chicken, can create a problem. And the reason they create a problem is because the chicken, especially at 11 days old, is very delicate. And if there is if there is a puncture at all in any of the main organs of the chicken, could be the liver, could be the lung. The chickens have all those, all these organs. And if there's a puncture in any of them, it's a little chicken. So if you take it and pick it up and inject it in the chest, there are chances that that there's going to be a puncture, and then you're eating a treifa. It's not even something you can tell. It'll go through the system. It'll be shechted. It'll be a treifa. So this is one of the main differences. The main difference, to put it in one sentence, is there a mashgiach present when they're giving the shot? So that's the real one of the main differences in your different shlachtoises and what they do. For instance, the badatz hechsherim does a number of things. They're very strict. So badatz hechsherim, the badatz hechsherim. So first of all, they have a mashgiach when they give the chicken either one of those shots. Also, the badatz hechsherim only will inject in the legs or the wings of the chicken, which others say is not as effective, but that's what the mashgiach makes sure they do. Also, the badatz hechsherim also uses a very short needle, which is more difficult to administer. It's a short needle, and there's therefore less of a chance, almost no chance, that your chicken is going to be a treifa. And in many places, badatzim in general, they don't give hormones to the chicken. So theoretically, if you don't see, or they don't give it because of the shiloh, in other words. So theoretically, if you'll see a badatz chicken's going to be a lot skinnier than a rabbanut chicken. I want a good chicken, you get a rabbanut chicken. The rabbanut mehadrin says that these days you don't have to check this so much because they only use mostly there's a roiv that they use these short needles, and it's not such a problem. The other kashrus places say no, it is a problem, and they find it to be a problem. So if you're going to buy, and this is what's interesting, this is why they call it chalak, even though there's no glatt kosher chicken per se, but it's something like chalak, meaning it's something like glatt in the sense that there's no nekev in any of the main reyes. Not that there is, I want to just emphasize here, not that there necessarily is a nekev if you don't buy badatz hechsherim, but that's a difference. The difference there is that it's mashgiach. And just one other thing about the mashgiach being there early. By the way, one of the rabbanim of the rabbanut told me there's about 200 kosher shlachtoises in the country for chickens. So one of them told me that many of even though the rabbanut, samach on these little needles, but a lot of the batei shchita are not. So they, on their own accord, will bring somebody in or make sure that the needles are properly. So that's why you got to know a lot. It's a sophisticated thing. I'm just saying the Indian bichlal. Apparently, also there's another Indian of the catching and loading and unloading of chickens. So it's pretty primitive. If you would imagine that these chickens are sitting there well behaved, and they go on this conveyor belt and they get dropped into the truck and then go to the shoyt and boom, knock off kill them. But it's how the way it is. They're running after the chickens. And the mashgichim have found that people are running after the chickens. These are not, and so they'll look at the chicken, they'll kick the chicken, they'll throw the chicken. They're a little bit messy with the chickens. And by the way, there's laws about this. The laws of the state of Israel. You're not allowed to kick a chicken. Keep that in mind. You're not allowed to kick a chicken, but they do. In other words, it's a job to do this. What happens when you kick a chicken? When you kick a chicken, you could again make a treifa. Does it? Basically, I'm not a veterinarian, but this is the chash. So therefore, in almost all the badatzim, the ones that say badatz on it, almost all of them. So they have a mashgiach by the loading, by the catching, by the loading, by the unloading, to make sure that nothing is thrown and the chickens are handled very, very delicately. So you will also get with a very mehadrin halak chicken, you'll also get in that sense, you'll get a healthier chicken. It's not going to have any broken bones, and it's not going to have anything. And a lot of times when you find these broken bones in a chicken, even though it doesn't classify it as a treifa by Shulchan Aruch, but it does show you that it was kicked around. and once it's kicked around, you don't know what happens. So that's two out of the 6 or 7 things that I want to mention. One is the zrikot, and the other is the way it's delivered.